Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? The sentiment that our best days are behind us. Or is that just the way a couple of songs come out?
I think maybe that comes across. People have this thing where they write about, they think I'm very nostalgic, which I never understood. And maybe I refer to being young. I mean, so I guess, yeah, I can see why they'd say that. But I, as a person, meant to kind of talk about, look today in the face and take today as the thing that you can change. And these should be the good times today, not then, but I think that I'm also very young as a writer, like as a lyric writer, I think, or I think that I am. And I feel like I have a lot to learn about communicating exactly what I'm trying to say. And sometimes, you're unsure of yourself, so you write things in maybe more of like a metaphor, and then that metaphor you realize later was maybe not the right metaphor to use, and you kind of, oh man, and like I'll read lyrics now that I've written, even on the new record, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I can see how that could come across like that,
A dual meaning. It's one of those things you put out there, and once it's out there, you lose control of it.
Yeah, and I think that that's cool in a way, but I'm definitely, I constantly write, so I'm writing even now, and I'm very conscious of that. Like, what does this mean when you're putting it out? And I like the idea of having a dual meaning, but I kind of want to make sure that I control that a little bit better, to be more clear.
Well, that's a poet. A poet wants to say exactly what he means to say with exactly the right words.
Right.
That it can't be ambiguous, it can't be misinterpreted.
Right.
But that's a skill that can only come from time, yeah.
Right.
I do like the way the word radio comes up a lot on the record.
Yeah, that was because there was a time when I was delivering newspapers with my mother, and she had a job. She had a normal job, but in the morning, to make extra money. And I wanted a stereo, and my parents were like, "You're not getting a stereo unless you work for it. So this is how you'll get your stereo." So I would wake up at 5 a.m, and the like religious moment of my life, the experience that I will never forget in my entire life, that made everything that I'd heard musically. It was always like, okay, that's on the radio, like I can dance to it. The time where all my senses, it was almost as if God like took my head and was like, this is what you're gonna do. And it was Just Like a Woman, Bob Dylan, came on the radio. And I had no idea what it was. And I just said, I don't know, what's this? On the radio. I never heard anything like this. Because I was listening to Guns N' Roses or something, and I'm not really relating to Guns N' Roses. Like, just not, like, okay, it's cool, and I can, it pisses my parents off. I can wreck the room to it, but I'm not gaining any life skills from this music. And I heard it, and my mom said, "That's Bob Dylan. You don't know who Bob Dylan is?" I was like, "Well, no, because you're the only person that would have told me." And who is this? And it was at 6 a.m, like freezing cold January, and I was working for my stereo, and I heard this song, and my mom had the Greatest Hits Volume 1 and 2 on cassette at home. And I went that day, got it, and I just listened to all this music that I had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
Isn't it a great moment when you realize, like, oh my God, all this music out there, and it's just for the taking.
Yeah.
It's
like,
just for the discovering.
Yeah. It was like, I don't even know. I mean, to me, I come from a very religious household, so to my parents, it was like, my mother was like the King James Bible and then Bob Dylan. And it was very important. And then once I had discovered it and she knew that I was interested, then my mother just became a real person to me, because she started divulging all his, the thoughts that she had on him, and the history behind him, and what he had done, and the Newport Folk Festival, and how when he plugged in, he cried because everyone booed him, and then he just became the most real person to me in the world. A rock star cried? Like, I've cried. Like, I know what that's, and I couldn't have been more than 11. So my brain could comprehend what it could comprehend of Bob Dylan, but I knew it was for me, and I knew that was important, and whatever he was saying was different than everything else I heard, and everything else kind of became, that was like, you're all BS, like, I'm not listening to anything anymore, this is what I'm listening to. And then I got that tribute concert where Pearl Jam was on it, right. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the only band that matters, and Bob Dylan, that's it.